This is Chenda of VOA. I'm here at Marriott Hotel in Washington, D.C. I'm going to meet with Dr. David Chandler, who is one of the most respected historians who have written a few books about Cambodian history. I'm going to meet with him, and please follow me. Good morning, Dr. David Chandler, and thank you for your time with VOA today.
You're welcome.
So you are one of the most respected historians who have written a few books about Cambodian history. So my first question to you is, if you were to write another history book about Cambodia, what would you describe Cambodian situation now in the book?
Well, I'm possibly going to have a contract to write a 5th edition of my History of Cambodia. I'm not going to do a separate history on the modern world at all. It's been done very well by Sebastian Stargio and various other people. But the new edition, if I go ahead with it, as I think I probably will, it's going to be different from the 4th edition, because I've got to expand and deepen the Angkor chapters, because the archaeological work has been wonderful. The work in the last 10 years has been big leap with the LiDAR and some big leaps of Cambodian knowledge about Angkor. The other thing's got to be changed, as you suggest, is the last chapter, because that'd be Cambodia from 79 till now. That's the 30 years. And how are we going to handle that? I try to avoid making too many political judgments. Certainly trying to avoid making predictions, because I'm not equipped to predict. I don't think anybody is, except maybe some magician. Nobody can predict what's going to happen. But as I said to another gentleman earlier today, I haven't written it yet, I haven't thought it through, but I have a feeling that the closing pages of that last chapter, which would take you to 2018, 2019, whenever I finish writing the book, would be more pessimistic than the last paragraphs were of the 4th edition, but where I just saw more possibilities for positive political change in Cambodia, which doesn't mean regime change, but just opening up, liberalizing, so on. I saw more of them in 2005, when I wrote the last edition, than I do now. I think the political scene has contracted and it's become less open to a positive change, which you could say, or democratization, or whatever word you want to use.
So is what's happening now in Cambodia a repeat of its own history?
I don't see it. Well, it's just, Cambodia's had authoritarian governments since Angkorian times, or pre-Angkor. It's never had a open opposition. It's never been a multi-party country. That's not a system that Cambodians are accustomed to. Not that some Cambodians wouldn't want to have one, but they have not had one. They have no history of a democratically elected government. Or they've had faint thing, but yeah, I mean, it's just going to be more difficult over the next few years. And that's what I'm going to suggest. I can predict it's going to be more difficult. I can't see who's around to pull it back from some of the tendencies that it's displaying at the moment. This is the leadership. Who's going to alter that behavior? I don't think no one is influential enough to, or has enough leverage to do that. I don't think the Cambodian government should be punished for its behavior, as some people are saying, because if you punish the Cambodian government for authoritarianism, you've really got to punish every government in Southeast Asia, and people like the United States are just not willing to do that, because they have more powerful interests in, say, the Philippines or Thailand or Indonesia Indonesia is very democratic, but than they do in Cambodia, which is a small country.
So in your view, do you think that there will be a change in Cambodia in the near future or in the long term?
I hope in the long term, but I can't predict it. I don't see what it's going to be. I mean, we don't know. As somebody once wrote, in the long term, we're all dead. So, we don't know. I can't say what changes might, because it depends what changes take place in Asia or elsewhere. I don't see the world getting to be an easier place to live in. There could be too many people, not enough water, terrible climate conditions, not enough food. I can't see it becoming a nicer place to be. I was thinking of my grandchildren, for example. And I don't see those changes coming in Cambodia any faster than anywhere else.
So you said before that you don't believe in electoral politics in Cambodia. So are you saying that Cambodian people are not the owners of their own fate?
Oh, no, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, many Cambodians are Cambodia's become a very prosperous country, which it wasn't before. Many Cambodians are profiting from this and have a much more comfortable life than they had before. And this is not connected in their minds with electoral politics at all. They don't, as I think much of the world is that way. I think people don't think about politics as much as people like VOA or me like to think they do. They think how comfortable they are, how comfortable their children are, what kind of education they're getting, how much money they have. And if that's all improved, as it has in the last 15 years for the middle class in Cambodia, not just the very rich, but the middle class, it's unlikely that they're going to say, wow, we've got to change the form of government, because it all goes along, Hun Sen says it all goes along with his prosperity, is his form of government. And nobody's there to contradict it. They know it's not. Who knows? They can't put a cause to it.
How about people in the lower class who don't get benefit like people in the middle class?
Oh, they've never had benefits. I mean, they're worse off now than they were before. You have the, you have this inequality of the very rich and the very poor all over the world. It's like pulling a piece of rubber. The top is just, a few have got a lot more than they used to have. The poor have not enough more. Cambodia, when I was there years and years ago in the 60s, Cambodians didn't see more than, maybe $500 a year, but they had clean water, and they had they owned their land, they had crops, they could feed, they were well fed, they would have lives that are more stable than they are today. Now they're impoverished, they have TV, but they don't have security, they don't have, and they were secure, these people, they were not being thrown off their land in those days. So now you just have tremendous inequality, and I think some of the people see that, and in the past in other countries this has led to rebellions, but it's not going to happen in Cambodia. This is too late for anybody to, nobody's got any arms anyway. So discontent, which is blame, a lot of this has happened in the United States. There are people who are at the lower edges of the country that this isn't fair, we're being mistreated. But it's happening all over the world, it's happening in Cambodia. So yeah, they're the ones who never benefit from these things. They're the industrial poor of Britain today, or the Industrial Revolution and other ones. Where economies change, the poor people always lose out.
So would you suspect that they will do something in the short future?
No. I hope they don't, because it'd be very dangerous to try to do anything that is not in accord with the people in charge of the country.
So can you explain more why you say it's dangerous?
Well, because some people in Cambodia have weapons and most people don't. It's as simple as that. And people without weapons will be, if they get too extreme, it's happened already in Cambodia. I mean, people know that. There's ways to treat these people, and that's with weapons. And they're not going to get any weapons themselves, so it's dangerous for people to do that kind of thing.
They will never win without weapons.
Well, I don't see it. Well, I mean, don't quote. That's not what I mean, because I don't know what's going to happen. And if it changes, other changes in society, something else might happen that I can't predict. But to radically change the situation in Cambodia now cannot be done peacefully, because it's too dangerous.
I want you to explain the real challenge that Cambodia is facing right now. What is the real challenge?
Well, I really can't say, but I just think every year the opportunities for opening and for joining a diminishing group of democratically elected countries is getting less likely. You can't ask them to imitate Vietnam or Thailand or Burma or even Malaysia. You can't say, do what they're all Philippines, these are all dictatorships. They're all countries where the dictators are happy. I don't think the current Cambodian regime is the worst in Brunei, completely one-man rule for the last 20, 30 years. So there's nowhere to imitate. And why should they imitate a Western country? The Western countries don't imitate them. They don't Cambodia can't become, say, America or Denmark, or they don't have a tradition of that. So, I just don't see that there's more discontent in Cambodia now than there used to be, but I don't see that it can produce results that these people want. That's why I'm pessimistic.
So what drives a leader to fear of being replaced?
What excuse me?
What drives a leader to fear of being replaced?
Well, the main thing is in Cambodia, I think he's fearful of something happening to him if he were replaced. He would not go into an opposition party This is your prime minister. He's scared that something would happen to him if he got taken off the throne. And anytime there was any kind of change of government in Cambodia, you know, I mean, Sihanouk, when the Lon Nol government was condemned to death. When the Khmer Rouge came in, they condemned the Lon Nol regiment to death. When the people were on the Thai frontier, they condemned the Khmer Rouge to death. And the Vietnamese did that. And you don't say, oh, you used to be in charge, come join me in a two-party system. They say, you used to be in charge, now we're in charge, and we'll condemn you to death. This is history. Now, you know, this is scary for someone who's in power and people who don't like the way. So it's not going to happen.
So are you saying that because those leaders have like committed something wrong that they want to?
No, I didn't say they committed something wrong, but there's just not a loyal opposition is not a phrase that exists in Cambodia. I mean, I'm not going to get into too much in Cambodian politics, but Sam Rainsy he never suggested that when I come to power, I'd welcome Hun Sen and an opposition party. He's had long experience in the country. I'd welcome his advice. He never came up with a sentence like that. When I am in power, I am in power. And I know there was some negotiations, this is years ago, but there were negotiations behind the scenes between Hun Sen and Sam Rainsy. You know, well, if you came in, what would you do? And they were working on an amnesty arrangement. Never worked it out to Hun Sen's satisfaction. Because, you know, not that, I'm not saying Rainsy was playing, don't take me wrong there, but they didn't work out any system where kind of a peaceful transition of government. So it's not a Cambodian tradition. I'm not saying it's just not a tradition.
So in your view, what would be the future power transition in Cambodia be like?
I have no idea. I really don't have a view for that. The future of Cambodia, I cannot make predictions. I'm not authorized, I'm not a Cambodian. I don't know what would happen, I'm just not sure. I mean, it's a penetrating question, but I can't answer it. I mean, I just don't know how to answer it, not that I don't want to answer it. I cannot know how to answer it.
What would happen if a leader tried to manipulate the history and then twist it into his own favor?
Oh, they do it all the time. That's what dictators do. They change the historical interpretation of history. I mean, but they're not that interested in the history, really. I mean, and yeah, they worked it out in their own favor. That's what politicians do. But if there were a more, no, I'll leave that be. No more for that. No, that's a good question, but okay.
Okay, so this is my last question. So for young Cambodian, what is one or two most important historical lessons that you want them to learn and then prepare for the better future?
That's a very difficult question. I don't want to give advice to Cambodia's young people who I admire a great deal for their vigor and their interest in the political scene. I can't think of advice I would give them except to be, I think for the near close future, I would advise them to be cautious and patient. I mean, this is terrible. Wait to see how things are going to spin out. Do not go into the streets. Do not, you know, just situation is unstable at the moment. So I have to be cautious, very cautious at how you approach things, and not be too energetic, because you're going to get in trouble. People, I mean, foreigners and some Cambodians have already gotten in trouble for being too open about, you know, what they'd like to see happen. Just back for a while, be quiet for a while. Observe, but don't, it's too dangerous. Be cautious, in other words.
So they have to be patient and wait until maybe something.
I can't see what else to advise people to do. There's no alternative to waiting and seeing what's going to happen.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. David Chandler, for your time with VOA today.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.